Dude, speaking of women kind of being into some weird shit, did you see recently was it Shannon Sharpe? Is that his name?
Oh, Shannon Sharpe, yeah, the football player.
Yeah, that he interviewed, which we famously go back and forth in the DMs.
Brittany
Renner.
Brittany Renner, right?
Renner. Griner's a basketball.
Griner's
right?
basketball player, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So they had a conversation going back and forth, and what did she say? They were going back and forth, and she said like, "Oh, I've had sex with like 36 guys."
Right.
She's 30 something, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
She's lived.
Shannon Sharpe goes crazy. He like spits out his drink, is looking at the camera. Like,
I saw a clip of that. Yeah,
he's being obnoxious.
So, yeah. So I guess my question is to you guys: what is your thoughts on that? She's 30. She has a 36. I don't think that's a high number. I also don't think it matters. It's kind of weird that was even. I don't know, man.
I guess it depends on how you break it down. Because let's say she's 35, right? She said 35 bodies. So that means if you break it down by average, you could have started having sex at 1, and you're averaging 1 body per year by the age. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 35, man.
Crazy comparison, though, Doc.
Huh?
That's like,
hey, we're not kink shaming out here.
Okay, listen, man. One thing about life, I don't judge. It's your life. I mean, even as a doctor, if someone comes in with a drug habit, psych issues, smoker with COPD, emphysema, and they're like breathing on a lung machine, they're like, "Yo, you still smoke?" Yeah. I give them the talk and say, listen, it's your life. Just as long as someone came and told you, like, hey, this is going to kill you. So one of my biggest fears with people that I've treated is that I don't ever want to get to the point where someone looks back on life like, maybe if a doctor would have explained it to me, I would have changed something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
That's fair.
Right. It's your life, though. If you want to do drugs, homie, do drugs. It's your life.
But wait, so let me ask you this, because obviously we're comparing drugs to sex.
So same thing with sex, man. And my view on sex is, with most things, I think probably maybe even everything, there's scientific evidence that shows the more you do something, the more desensitized you're going to be to it, right?
Right.
Really? You believe that?
I believe that. There's a lot of studies that show that the more you do something, like whether it's the ringing of the bell, and it eventually, if you ring a bell long enough, right, they kind of become immune to it. Like they don't even notice it, or it starts to. Wow. They associate like ringing the bell to a certain habit. Right. Next, you're doing that habit every time the bell rings, but you're not. You don't even know. It's just subconscious now. So I think.
So I guess where's your link to sex? Like, why is that a big problem?
Well, I'm saying it's a big problem because okay, I'll use like an analogy. Maybe this makes sense, right? So you got this glass, right? So let's say everyone starts off with a full glass, right? You have sex with somebody. I don't care what anybody says. If you have sex with somebody, it's an intimate act, right? It's not something that happens every day for most people, I would think. Unless you're
Chuy.
Yeah.
Sorry for disrespecting all we. But I'm saying, like, I think especially for a woman, if you talk about like hormones, like oxytocin, like, the feel-good hormone, the bonding hormone. When women get pregnant and deliver, they release that hormone. It's supposed to, like, dare I say it helps with contractions, but it also gives you that bonding moment with the kid. I mean, this is all neurotransmitters, hormones that's making you act the way that you act. And so when you're having sex and climaxing, all these hormones are getting released and things like that. You're talking about dopamine storages, you're depleting storages of dopamine or desensitizing yourself. I mean, it's like a drug addict. What's they say? You never get the first high ever again. You're chasing that first high. It's the same thing with sex. Imagine, I guarantee you, bro, if you look back in your life, you could probably remember the first time you had sex, but if you've had a lot of sex, you probably can't remember the 5th or 6th one, but you remember your first one, right? Yeah. You remember? I know I remember. It was like 5 seconds. Sorry to put that out there, but it was like 5 seconds.
Exactly. Let me tell you
Damn,
something.
you made it that long?
I felt good just to be at the show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's still 5 seconds for me. Bro.
At least you're consistent.
First, 20th,
for as much as this guy's cream pie, and you'd think his stamina would be fucking lit.
Wait, hold on. So
he knows
literally just sets the tip in and it's
over with.
Yep.
So, okay, so with that being said, I'm saying, I'm sorry, go ahead. Finish.
Nah, but if we're going by cup, let's say you got a full cup, man. So every time you have sex, you pour a little bit out, right? Keep having it. By the time you get to the person that you love or that you truly cherish and want to be with, how much you got left in the tank? You've exhausted all your, whether you want to make it a hormone thing, neurotransmitter thing, or you just want to say just social companionship, your ability to connect to somebody. I mean, you really got nothing left. I mean, you got very few left to give to somebody. I think that affects you. Whether people want to believe that or not, that's what I believe. So 35, I mean, that's a high number. And,
you think so?
I think 35? For a woman, yeah, man, 35, because you got to understand, bro, like for a man, we got to work a little harder for that, right? So for women, women are usually supposed to be the more selective ones. You know what I'm saying? Like 35, that's a lie. Then you say, what do you got to show from that?
So hold on. Okay, 35 years.
In my opinion,
But I agree with you. But I guess here's my question for you. So if that was a man at 35, you don't necessarily feel the same.
I feel the same thing. Same thing with men, bro. I'm not. I'm not. I know some people. If you listen to some of these podcasts and dating gurus, they're like, "Oh, men should have sex with tons of people." I'm the same way, bro. I mean, I'm not the same way. I disagree with that.
Yeah.
Because as a guy, you know what I'm saying, my number is not super high, but it's high enough I can tell you that the more I've had sex, the less meaningful it has been.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
Admitting, I don't know if you guys feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel that you can have sex literally as much with as many people throughout the years, but I don't really feel it matters how much sex you've had in the past. It matters the sex you're having with a person and that connection with that person.
That's fair.
And obviously, once there is that specific connection with a person, I don't want to get into like body counts or anything, but I'm just kind of thinking like in my head, okay, like she's 35 years old. Mm-hmm. She starts having sex when she's like, let's say, 15 years old. I mean, that's not that many people. That's not even more than 2 people on a yearly basis. And you think about our society today, how people date, social media, people dating, I feel is literally at an all-time high right now because we live in this environment where the grass is always greener.
Definitely true. I think that's very fine points. Okay, let me ask you this, man. Let's get scientific here. The whole meaning, what's the meaning with sex? Why have sex?
Feels good.
Feels good.
I say
pleasure.
Procreation is what I would say. Procreation,
okay,
yeah. Like animals, we're animals, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but that too. That too. Definitely a luxury. Hopefully, it feels good.
That's the point of it. That's the
goal of it.
Right.
The goal. The end game.
I don't know, but I wouldn't agree with that. Not with how much contraceptive we have. Like, is that what it's for? Like,
I think it was created for that, though.
Yeah, but contraceptives, right? The technology that we're creating was that us or was that nature? Like nature, I think that was more us, right? Like that was us trying to modify the definition.
But that's what I'm saying. Right. Biologically, is sex for procreation? Absolutely.
Right.
Like hands down, we know that.
Right.
But why do we do it?
Right. Exactly. So
that's back to the oxytocin.
True. I'm just thinking from a biological standpoint, the act of sex was for procreation, right?
Okay.
And so I think when you start abusing that type of act, that intimacy, something that's used for procreation. Okay, we'll use Brittany Renner for example, right? She's 30-something years old. Is she married?
No.
Okay, she has a kid, right?
Yes.
If there's one thing I always see in her clip, she's always complaining about what? Men, right? So I don't know, man. It just seems like it ain't really working. So I'm not saying that's the main reason for why it's not going right, but maybe you need to take a step back and change a few things.
I think there's a difference too between like having sex to have sex,
right,
or having sex and dating different women to like get to know them to see if there's that chemistry, and then obviously moving on.
Sure.
Every single person. No, there's a big difference. People go out to fuck to bust a nut. Like dudes, we're all guilty of this. Dudes literally want to bust just to bust. And like, there's a difference between going and just having sex to have sex and having sex to build something with someone and see if there's a connection there. Because I know women that would straight up say like, hey, if the sex ain't good and I don't feel that connection, I don't care how good we mesh our personalities, whatever. So sex is also one of those things that's a deciding factor in a relationship.
But isn't that a small percentage of women? Like
that's what?
That probably things like that.
Well,
I don't have the statistics on it.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's a hard way to end. But so how I feel is that guys are typically more. We typically have the ability to go have multiple sex partners with less, I guess, feelings attached, if I can put it that way, than women. Did you guys hear that or no?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah. And again, maybe
obviously it's anecdotal.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to really investigate the science behind it, but I mean, a lot of that's probably again driven by certain hormones that get released.
Right.
Yeah.
And so again, from a biological standpoint, whether we're talking about the ability to procreate and how that's pretty much the essence, the reason biologically for sex, or you're talking about certain hormones that are getting used, neurotransmitters, I just don't see it being healthy having a high body count. Whatever that number is, I guess it's relative. Yeah. I just don't see that being the most lubrious thing to do. If I had a daughter, I would say, yeah, you know, be careful who you share your time and your body with. Yeah. Because
don't give up the goods to everyone, daughter.
Right. Whether it's a one night stand or whether it's a relationship, whether it's emotional or socially, you're going to be getting depleted because no woman wants to be disrespected. And I don't care what anybody says. If you have sex with that many people, I guarantee you most of them weren't respectful. And I think if you listen to that particular person, Brittany, speak, seems like she's got a lot of disdain for how men are. You know, now some of the, I mean, obviously it's her life. A lot of that's self-inflicted, so she's got to take responsibility in that. But, you know, if I had a daughter, I probably would tell them not to have a high body count, whatever that number may be. Protect that.
Right. I think men and women's situations are like so much different.
Fellas, for sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like people being hoes out here, bro.
Hey man, if you want to be the biggest hoe you want, if you're happy.
Hey, if you guys like that last clip, make sure you guys go to our channel. We got tons more. Fuck! Listen up, guys. If you like that clip, make sure to go check out our page for all our other clips, posted daily and full videos. You like that shit?